Module 3, problem number 5. A survey of 2,304 adults in a certain large country aged 18 and older conducted by a reputable polling organization found that 422 have donated blood in the past 2 years. Complete parts A through C below. Part A, obtain a point estimate for the population proportion of adults in the country aged 18 and older who have donated blood in the past 2 years. So remember, finding the proportion is P hat is equal to X divided by N, where X is the number of successes and N is the number of observations in your sample. So in this case, we have 422 is our number of successes, and 2,304 are the number of observations in the sample. So that gives us 0.183 as our P hat when we round to 3 decimal places. Check answer. Good job. All right, verify that the requirements for constructing a confidence interval about P are satisfied. Let's take a quick look at the lesson from last week from Module 3. And it's got the requirements here. So the ones that, or what we first need to look at is that it's a simple random sample of size n, and that n times p hat times 1 minus p hat is greater than or equal to 10, and that the sample size n is less than or equal to 0.05 times the population, or that the sample is less than or equal to 5% of the population size. Back to our problem and see what they're asking us about the requirements. B, verify that the requirements for constructing a confidence interval about P are satisfied. So first, remember we looked that the sample must be a simple random sample. Now, it's not stated in the problem. It's not saying this is a simple random sample. However, there's a couple of things. One, it talks about a survey of these adults, certain large country, voter, like basically talks about here it is, reputable polling organization. When they say that, you can assume that this is a simple random sample. So it's not stated. It can be assumed, cannot be assumed, or is stated to be. Well, again, it's not stated, so we're going to leave that alone. Since it's a reputable polling organization, it can be assumed that it is simple random sample. Next, we're going to look at the value of something. And in this case, as we just saw in the requirements, it's n times p hat times 1 minus p hat is. So let's find the answer to that. This would be what your equation would look like. N, that's the number of observations in the sample. P hat, that's what we found in part A, that's that 0.183. And then 1 minus P hat. So once we plug that in and put it into the calculator, we get 344 times 0.4, or excuse me, 344.4733. And here we need to round to 3 decimal places. So let's just double check that. It was 344.473. All right, let's check that in here. It's going to be 344.473, which is not less than, but it's greater than or equal to 10, which is again one of the requirements. And then the last requirement is looking at the relationship of the sample size and the population size. So here we're going to go ahead and select sample size. Again, in this case, we don't know our population size. It was not given to us in the problem. However, the fact that it's a reputable polling organization, we can assume that our sample size is the right proportion compared to the population size. So we would say can be assumed to be less than or equal to 5% of the population size. Check answer. Nice work. Again, all of those requirements are listed here in that purple box from the lesson. It's also in the e-text. This is a great little purple box for me to, like a nice little summary box from the lesson this week. All right, part C, construct and interpret a 90% confidence interval for the population proportion of adults in the country who have donated blood in the past 2 years. Select the correct choice below and fill in any answer boxes within your choice. So let's go ahead and open up StatCrunch. And this is a side note, but this is how it opens up in the window. You can hit this like pop out button if you want it to be a separate window. Okay, so To find the confidence interval of population proportion, we're going to go to stat, proportion stats, one sample, and we don't have a data set here. We just have the summary data. So summary, the number of successes, again, that's that 422. The number of observations is 2,304. We're going to go down here and click confidence interval, and they're looking for a 90% confidence interval. Click compute, and right here we have our lower and upper limit, and we're going to be rounding to 3 decimal places, so that would be 1.699. That rounds up to 0.170, and then our upper limit is going to be 1.196. Let's plug those in. Okay, so first we need to decide between A or B. It says we are blank percent confident, or there is a blank percent chance. Now, remember when we define when we interpret a confidence interval, we're saying that we are a certain amount confident that the population proportion lies in that range or that interval. The other way to think about this is if we were to pull another 100 samples out of that same exact population, 90% of those samples, or 90 of those samples, their proportion should be in that interval. That's for me, that's the two ways to think. That's the definition of it, but you can think of it either way. So again, we're doing the 90% confidence interval, and we found that lower limit to be 0.170 once we rounded, and the upper is 0.196. Check answer. Excellent. All right, that's problem number 5 from Module 3. If you have any questions, let me know.